just get a confirmation that we're live since Facebook continues to be weird. Continue to get these messages about this live video getting deleted on this date, and I can't even track it.
All right, let me know once we got confirmation.
All right, we're good to go. We'll run it. And I'm not going to.
All right. What?
No, I was just going to mention last week we ended up having like that crazy surplus of viewers all at one time, and that's when I didn't hashtag it. I don't know if like Facebook recognized that it was like a milestone podcast, like with 100 specifically, that number digit, like keyworded or something like that, or I don't know.
Well, we'll see how many viewers we get today then. But welcome back to the Paisan Sports podcast, presented, of course, by Elevation 5280 Sports. And Dante DePlacido, joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So, of course, I've got to ask, what's the deal with Facebook? Are we live? Are we not live? I don't know. Does Zach know? Nobody knows what's going on. And what is the deal with the Bengals? Why are they not paying their first round pick? And speaking of him, what's the deal with Shamar Stewart? Who does he think he is? He's not Reggie White. He's not Myles Garrett. He's not even Derek Barnett. What is going on?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think we had the topic isolated down to AFC North players or pass rushers or defensive players, because I just randomly had this thought the other day. I was just thinking, like, I mean, I grew up a Ravens fan for like 10 plus years, so I don't root for the Ravens as much. My fandom lied with Joe Flacco being their quarterback. I still like them. I like Lamar a lot, but when I was randomly thinking about, I think there was a topic of conversation that came up about Lamar. So I still root for Lamar. I still root for the Ravens. That's technically my second team, but nowhere near on the Eagles level. But I was just thinking about Lamar specifically the other day, and just about like where his career could go. And then it just kind of dawned on me that all the best defenders on the opposing teams and the AFC North, and we're not talking about just the best defenders in the AFC North. We're talking about like three of the best defenders in, I mean, Dante, would you say? I would probably go not top 10, top 15. Do you think Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, and Myles Garrett, all three of those guys would land inside your top 15 defensive players in the NFL currently?
I would
or like close, like it's not like a hard cap, like you would say 20, 15, 20 range. You wouldn't say 10. I probably wouldn't say 10, but I would say maybe 15 or 20-ish range at least. Like in that range, maybe you can make an argument for 12 top 12 players. I mean,
it's a bit tough because there's so many different positions on defense, but they're all.
We're talking about
they're all in the upper echelon.
We're talking about like the most important position on defense. I mean, it's kind of venturing towards. We saw the influx of Derek Stingley Jr. getting a massive cornerback contract, and some other guys. Obviously, the Eagles had to save some money. That's why they traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson to make room for the contracts that they're going to have to give out to a young pass rusher like Nolan Smith when he's ready, and the two cornerbacks in Q and Cooper DeJean that they have. But, I mean, when we're looking at the AFC North, we had the best defensive player on every team, not named the Ravens, trying to lead this offseason. And to add insult to injury for the Bengals, who are lacking defensive talent in general, they just released their middle linebacker captain. That was probably their second best defensive player outside of Trey Hendrickson and Jermaine Pratt. And for a team like that, that's lacking talent in that department, with an offense that's completely ready to go, and just a kind of lopsided seesaw that we're looking at of a team between offense and defense. I mean, to have your first round pick that was a top 16, 17 pick. I think Shamar went 17, right? Because the Eagles legend for 2 months, Walter Nolan, went 16, right? Walter Nolan was mocked to every single Eagles mock draft when I said he wouldn't even be in the ballpark.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart went 17.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was in the top, pretty much right outside of the top of the half of the draft. So when you have a guy like that that's already sitting out, and I don't know if I would say it's complaining, because the issue lies between the Bengals having language in the contract that they can offset some guaranteed money if he's released while he's on his rookie contract. So, I mean, I don't know. the thing that I find interesting is that Shamar Stewart is already worrying about something like that outside of just getting on the field and getting acclimated to the NFL in general. I don't know why you're so pressed about already getting released from a rookie contract. It's like almost to the point where you're like egging the situation on to where the Bengals just might made a mistake. But at the end of the day, I mean, it would be really tough. There is an avenue for Shamar Stewart to sit out this entire season. I think the deadline for him to be traded is like August 5th or something like that. And if not, then he has to sit on that rookie contract that he hasn't signed. So if he does that, then he can sit out this entire year and then re-enter next year's draft. But for a guy that had a lack of production, I mean, he has all the physical traits and tools as a pass rusher to develop into a first-round talent like he was drafted. But we're also talking about a guy that had like 1.5 career sacks in college. I mean, he does not have the
And
resume.
that's why I say, who does he think he is?
But real quickly, to tie this all together about like him potentially sitting out if that were the situation, for a guy that's that unpolished and needs to be in some sort of program, whether it's college and showing off his production capabilities or just being in the NFL like he was drafted to be. I mean, for a guy like that, if he is going to sit out, if that's what this ends up being, I mean, I feel like that's a massive strikeout for Shamar Stewart himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your first round pick, number 17 overall. You're on a team that, with the proper defensive help, can be a serious contender. So it's stupid to just pass all that up and enter the draft, and where you're not going to be drafted as high the second go around, considering
Yeah,
I don't know how it
everyone's gonna
works if
leave
you
you as
can.
character issues. I mean, you saw like look at the difference between like a guy like Will Johnson that was supposed to be a solidified top 5 best defensive back, like going before Travis Hunter or right neck and neck with Travis Hunter last year going into the season, and he has a couple injuries and he played football and he had a couple injuries going into the draft, and look at how his stock plummeted a little bit. So I mean, if you're pulling these type of stunts off the field, and also if you're so worried about money, it's not like you got drafted by like the New York Giants, you know what I mean? And there's no path to victory or success. I mean, if you become the face of the Bengals defense with Joe Burrow at quarterback, I mean, you're going to be instantly famous. You're going to generate a lot of wealth for yourself just being the face of the defense of one of the best teams in the league, if that's what it comes out to be. And you're going to have so much opportunities and avenues to be able to make that money up. So I think it's pretty crazy. I remember the Bosas back in the day. I think both the Bosas, the brothers, both kind of pulled a stunt a little bit, but it wasn't as exaggerated. And they were obviously higher draft picks than Shamar Stewart. They both went in the top 5 of the draft, but I'm pretty sure the Bosas did it. But his dad, the Bosa's dad, John Bosa, in 1983 was is like the famous like origin tie to like a holdout for a rookie in 1983. He did that.
Well,
No, I'm just trying to get this information so I can relay it correctly, because I'm pretty sure he got drafted in 1983, held out, and then got redrafted in 1987. So, but obviously things work a lot differently. But for a guy like Shamar Stewart, on top of that, we're not even just talking about him missing a season of production with a guy that is lacking production but has all the skill traits. Like, you could still be in college if this was going to happen and probably make more money than your rookie deal if you're one of the best pass rushers in all of college football on an NIL deal. And now teams have the ability to pay their players outright themselves on NIL deals. So, I mean, I feel like those would the NIL deals from teams generate are more so for like the lower end guys, and then the other bigger name guys would get like, you know, the advertisement deals outside of the program. But I mean, I just feel like any way that you can spin this, it's just not a good look for Shamar Stewart. I also think it's not. I'm not going to let the Bengals off the hook, though, because I feel like the Bengals have a history of mistreating players. I mean, it took them how long to get Jamar and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow all signed and under contract. They still had the dispute going on with Trey Hendrickson. Just released their other best defensive player, known for having the worst 32nd ranked facilities in the entire league, as in like what they provide for their players with the buildings and their resources. So I'm not going to let the Bengals off the hook, but I think even with that being said, this just hurts Shamar Stewart even more. It hurts the Bengals a lot too. I mean, they're trying to rely on this guy. They have an issue with their star pass rusher, and they're just trying to figure out their defensive line in general. But I feel like this is just a lose-lose situation for both sides.
Yeah, it's certainly not a good situation. I mean, the Bengals would lose out on much-needed defensive help. Shamar Stewart would put himself in a worse situation.
And how
It's
stupid do
definitely
you
a
look like?
lose-lose.
How stupid do you look like James Pierce? The Falcons traded back in. They drafted at 18 and got Jelon Walker, and then came back and gave up a first next year, and I think like 2 7s or something, or 6 and a 7, whatever it was, to come back into 26 for a guy that had character issues in James Pierce, that went 10 picks after a guy that clearly, I don't know if I would consider it character issues, but clearly has some type of issue with. I don't even know what I would like equate it to. I'm not going to call him like a diva or anything for acting like this if it's like over money, but I just think it's crazy to come into the NFL and nobody else has an issue across all the other 31 first round draft picks. So I just think it's a little bit crazy.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. But anyhow, this is a bit earlier than usual, but let's get into my meatball of the week. And my meatball of the week, this guy, he's a repeat offender, not as a meatball of the week, but the reason he's the meatball of the week, he's a repeat offender of doing this. Every single year he does this. And at this point, I think he's doing it to intentionally piss people off. I'm talking about Chris Sims coming out once again with his top 40 QB list. Where every year he ranks Jalen pretty low. The one year he had him outside of the top 30. I think that was going into 2022, if I remember correctly. And even after Hurts proved him wrong that year, it seems like he's just been too spiteful to ever give him his proper dues, because now he has him ranked as the 10th best quarterback. And from what I understand, the full list isn't out yet. He's only posted QBs 5 through 10. So I'll just give you the 5 through 10. And that is
I'm looking. He's like, yeah, I think he's doing like a 5-tier, 5-numbered breakdown over like YouTube videos. I'm looking at his Twitter right now.
Exactly he's doing.
I
But
see a
ahead of
tweet.
Jalen Hurts, I'll just go from 5 to 9. So at 5, he has Jaden Daniels, which, listen, Jaden Daniels had an incredible rookie season, but to already put him at 5 when after years and years of Jalen Hurts playing well in the NFL, you won't even put him in the top 10. I think that's a bit ludicrous. He put Matthew Stafford at 6. Okay. CJ Stroud at 7. You can listen, CJ Stroud, he's a good quarterback, but if you have Jalen Hurts at 10, you cannot tell me you have CJ Stroud at 7. That's just ridiculous. Justin Herbert at 8. I would not put Justin Herbert ahead of Jalen Hurts either. And then Baker Mayfield at 9, who I also would not put ahead of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, from that snippet, I'm seeing another one. There's like he put them into tiers, you know what I mean? Not like number ranking. Like these are, he like dropped a list of QB countdown so far, and it's like Scheme Dream, Brock Purdy, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. Want to touch the what? What is it? I want to touch the hiney. Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. So I mean, you can hear by these subtitles. I don't know how serious. I mean, this list is obviously serious, but I mean,
listen, and here's the thing: it's like you could maybe be like, "Oh, what exactly does he mean with all of this?" If he wasn't, like I said, a repeat offender who every year,
yeah, he said it before. I mean, if we're going to just look at the 5 through 10 here, the only person that actually has an argument as of right now, and I would probably give my cap like just a slight tier, because I mean, if we're talking about talent wise, this is one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever step foot on a football field, and that's Matt Stafford. And we witnessed that firsthand. I mean, Matt Stafford's arm talent is top 5 up there with Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers of all time. So I feel like their quarterback rankings just don't really make sense. Like people are trying to, there's this movement that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league, and Patrick Mahomes is no longer that guy after one rough season. After Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls before the age of 30 and just puts up ridiculous
Josh
numbers
Allen hasn't even
right,
made it to a
has
Super
beaten
Bowl.
Josh Allen how many times in the playoffs and has had signature moments. And if you want to say, oh, well, Josh Allen's such a better runner, Patrick Mahomes might be the most underrated scrambling quarterback in the entire league. So, but yeah, I mean, the Jalen, I don't even really entertain this because one, Chris Sims is,
He's a moron.
like, he's a part of the PFT, so that just kind of shows you where his mind lies. I mean, Pro Football Focus kind of has, they have a good baseline for some rankings, but you even see their numbers at times. Like, it doesn't make any sense where they rank certain guys. I mean, I think they had, Coop and Quinion 11 and 16 in their cornerback rankings throughout the year. And the craziest part is, like, I'm not like, Eagles on Eagles crime here. How could you rank Cooper DeJean in front of Quinion Mitchell? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, that's where, like, that doesn't make sense in itself. So he plays a harder position to play as an outside corner, and he has more time under his belt of what he's done at production. I mean, I love Coop. He's my favorite player. I mean, we talked about on the podcast how we wanted him to get drafted there. And we had people on talking about him, and then obviously it came to fruition. But yeah, Chris Sims, I mean, I'm not going to, give him the time of day with this list because, like you said, he's a repeat offender. So if the evidence of what Jalen Hurts has done, hasn't proven anything to Chris Sims at this point, then I don't really feel like I need to, like, even involve in this list.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
I also feel like with Jalen specifically, I keep hearing this narrative. It's really pushed by the radio. They keep saying how bad he was in the Rams game because everybody likes to, like, make this thing out and, like, blame it on Jalen, like the Rams game was close because Jalen took 7 sacks. Like, and all they talk about is the 7 sacks. And that one sack that he took, what was it, 3rd down, where he rolls out on the play action rollout and eats a sack. Was it a safety?
I honestly do not remember off the top.
It was either a safety or just a devastating, like, 3rd and 13, just absolute 7-yard drilling sack, like just gross. Like, it was horrible. But nobody ever talks about the 44-yard, 4 broken tackle touchdown run that he had to start the game off. It's just about how he took 7 sacks in that game and how
well, not only that, it's like not only just like harping on his 7 sacks in the Rams game, but like not just on the radio, but NFL fans who are not Eagles fans tend to focus on the few poor performances from Jalen Hurts and not all the exceptional performances of Jalen Hurts. Like, I remember for a good while this past season, they would bring up the game against the Buccaneers when he didn't have any of his wide receivers. It's just, it's like people go out of their way to find reasons to hate on Jalen Hurts. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it feels like I hate this argument because I hate, like, having to, like, defend Jalen where it's like I got to trash other people and this, that, the other. But it seems like every other top quarterback besides Patrick Mahomes doesn't get criticized, and there's always some excuse. There's always some excuse for Lamar, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. There's always some excuse for them. Always. It's like their defense didn't show up. This didn't happen. That didn't happen. And, it's every single year that they can't beat Patrick Mahomes. And it's, somehow this happened. The defense can't make a play. Oh, this guy didn't show up. Like, everybody's dealing with those things. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, listen, I will, to end the segment on Jalen Hurts, I will ask you this question. Out of all those quarterbacks, Chris Sims ranked ahead of Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, and I might be missing one. I don't know. But out of all of those guys, what does Jalen Hurts have that none of them have?
That got ranked ahead of him?
Yeah, what does he have that none of them have?
I'm not sure. The one thing I'm
The Super Bowl MVP trophy. So shove it up your ass, Chris Sims.
I was thinking Super Bowl, but that just got completely thrown out
Yeah,
because
well, Matthew Stafford did
but
win
I
a
hate
Super
I
Bowl, but
the Super
won
Bowl MVP
MVP.
award sucks. It
Oh,
just
get
gets
out of
thrown
here.
out. Just Aaron Donald should have been the MVP of the Super Bowl that the Rams won. Cooper Kupp won it, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Aaron Donald, I mean, if you remember the last two plays of that Super Bowl, Aaron Donald just went nuclear and just ended the game. So I think Aaron Donald should have won that. I remember the Seahawks clapping of the Broncos back in the day, and Malcolm Smith with the pick six, and I think he had like 11 tackles, one MVP, but that should have went elsewhere. Even the Jalen one, I don't know, but it also kind of it just sums up. Just I feel like that award represents what Jalen has done in his two Super Bowls, as in he had one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time in the last Super Bowl that he lost. So I will give it to that. It's not like Jalen hasn't shown up in those games, but I feel like that award just kind of, gets tossed around in
I
bad
disagree.
light.
But anyhow, if I'm not sure if you had another football topic, but I
Yeah,
was gonna say
I got a couple
okay.
football topics because we got mandatory mini camp going on right now. So the Eagles, we just talked about some guys potentially on the move. We saw a big move happen this week in the NFL, a guy that's still young too. So this isn't like an aging guy. This is actually a guy that's literally in the midst of his prime, just got released, one of the best players at his position. Former Lamar Jackson teammate in college in Jair Alexander, who the Eagles played twice last season. I don't think Jair didn't play in the playoff game, did he?
I have
I
no
don't think he
idea
played.
now that you
He
say
didn't
that.
play in the playoff game. I know he didn't play in the play. I like almost like 100% positive he didn't play in that playoff game. Let me check. He only played 7 games last year. He only played 7 games, and that's weird. I feel like 2 years ago he had like a huge season. Yeah, he didn't play. He didn't play since the 17th versus Green Bay, which was what was it? Week 11 last season. So he only played 7 games the last 2 years in each season, which is actually, I thought it was different because I think it was 2 years ago where he had like a massive season where he was all Pro 2 and Pro Bowl. He's made the Pro Bowl twice in his career, 2020 and 2022. And both of those years, he was an all pro too. So this is a guy who's very talented, makes a lot of plays on the ball, talks a lot of smack, and is out there to be had. 28 years old. Would you take a flyer on Jair Alexander? And on top of that, if you had to make a choice, because Jair Alexander just got released after I think there was months of him trying to get traded. Somehow that didn't work out. I guess teams just knew it was on the horizon that it was going to happen. But there's another legendary cornerback out there. I mean, we're talking about a top 10 cornerback in the history of football that's available for a team to go out there and get as well. And Jalen Ramsey, if you had to choose between the two guys, obviously being noted, Jalen Ramsey, I think is 3 years older than Jair. He's like 31 or 32. And you would have to trade for him, but it'd probably be a fifth or a sixth round pick. Um, but who would you rather have on your team, Jair Alexander or Jalen Ramsey? And do you think any of those moves are actually realistic? Because there is an opening at the outside corner position with Slay leading.
Well, I think right now simply picking up Jair Alexander is quite realistic. If I'm not mistaken, we just saved up a lot of cap space by getting rid of what's his name, whose name I'm blanking on, Bryce Huff. So I think that's very realistic. The thing with Jair Alexander is he's extremely talented. He's a phenomenal corner. He cannot stay on the field from what it seems like. I mean, 2 straight seasons in a row, playing only 7 games, I think. Played a full season before that, but then the year before that, I think he only played like 4 games. So it's a huge concern with Jair Alexander. Um, Jalen Ramsey, it could be a good idea. What is his contract? Because
Well,
at
that's
his
what's
age,
crazy. I don't know if you remember, but he got the Dolphins, I think literally before 20, it was either before 2024 or 2023. He got the highest extension by a corner in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on Jalen Ramsey's contract because I
Yeah, I
don't
think
want
he's in
to.
the 20. I think he's making like 25.
He's well, no, I'm talking about years because I'm thinking about his
Oh, he's
age.
locked in
Like,
for.
I
I
wouldn't
believe.
hate him as like 1 year, you know, just play corner while I don't know, maybe develop Ringo for another year or something. But yeah, he's under contract through 2028. So and in 2028 he'll be making 36 mil.
Well, there's a
So with
potential.
that being at the age of 34.
His
So
contract reads that it has language that you can be out of the contract um, before next season.
but that's the thing. If he has a great year, are they going to take the opt out? Like if the opt out was an extra year or two after that, I'd be like, okay, cool. Anyway, the bottom line is, even with Jair Alexander's injury concerns, I don't think it would hurt to bring him onto the roster. It's much less of a commitment. So yeah, give me Alexander.
I don't know if it's how would you say it's less of a commitment?
Wasn't he just straight up released?
Yeah, so he's good. Do you think he's signing like a little deal? He's like a top.
I'm not saying a
He's like a
little
top
deal,
eight
but no, with
cornerback
his
in the league.
injury concerns and with Howie being the way Howie is, no, I wouldn't be surprised if they could give him like a large sum of money for a 1 year contract, or I don't know. They could definitely figure out something easier than Jalen Ramsey's current contract. That's for sure. When you have
Yeah,
that
I
kind
mean
of
the
injury
numbers.
history, you don't just go out there and sign a massive deal like the one Jalen Ramsey currently has.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a couple million off, but if you want a 1 year deal, that could be a chance. I mean, if he's smart, Jair Alexander, he would seriously look into the Eagles. I think there's rumors about that, but he would seriously look into them because what better showcase for you to have than play on one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire league, and play at one of the most important positions. He's going to have great competition with the wide receivers that are in the NFC East at least, and then you can go out and just test free agency next season and get paid. And I think that's a win-win for both sides. I mean, like it's like when a prime player at that age becomes available, I can't just automatically think like, yeah, the Eagles need to go get him and lock him up for 5 years just because he's 28 and like he'll be good till he's 32. You know what I mean? Like that's not realistic. Like I think if he were to join the Eagles, Jair Alexander, it would be a 1 year deal. He showcases as much, regardless of how good he is this season. If he's spectacular, even though he's was spectacular for the Eagles and the opportunity they gave him, he's just going to hit free agency and cash out for the last big cash out of his career. That's just what's going to happen. That's the smart thing to do. So I think there's a chance if that's the scenario. I mean, you also have to think the Jalen Ramsey situation, if they're willing to upgrade that position specifically, and those are two guys they're actually looking at. Jalen Ramsey, on top of being a corner, I mean, with how physical he is, I feel like he would just like seamlessly transition to being a safety for like could play safety till he was like 35 at a high level just because of how physical and good he is as a defensive back in general. And I mean, the Eagles have what, 13 draft picks next year? Something crazy
They do
like
have
that.
a
Like
lot.
what's a fifth round pick out of those 13 picks?
I'm not concerned about giving up a 5th round pick for him. I'm concerned about taking on the contract, you know.
Well, I just like kind of pitched that in the way as like Jair's
Because
just out there
because here's the thing
continuously
about the
adding.
opt out. Because here's the thing about the opt out. Think about, let's say hypothetically, when they brought in James Bradbury in 2022. Let's say hypothetically, they traded for James Bradbury and he had the same exact contract that Jalen Ramsey has now, right? So after that 2022 season, with how well James Bradbury played and how they ended up re-signing him, knowing that, don't you think they would have not went for the possible opt out after that great year, which could be very realistic for Jalen Ramsey at his current age? So then you forego that opt out. Now you're locked in another 3 or 4 seasons. But now at his age, what are the chances that he falls off a cliff like a lot of corners do at that age?
Well,
Quite
one,
high. So it could very well be a situation where he comes in, he plays great. They say, forget the opt out, stay on the roster. and then he falls off a cliff, and we've seen many corners do.
Well, I think it's like we're talking about. I don't even know how to compare this. Like, I'm trying to think of a one-time All-Star off the top of my head. You're like we're talking about like Jalen Ramsey. Like we're
Darrell
talking,
Revis fell off a cliff, man, and we've gone over this
bro.
before.
Like I don't even care what anybody says. If you want to call me crazy, whatever. Jalen Ramsey's better than Darrell Revis. He does more, bigger, does more versatile. But we don't
Even
need to
if
have
he
this
is,
conversation. But
the point I'm making is even some of the greatest corners of all time, the corners don't just slowly lose their ability. It typically happens in just 1 year. Boom, they're great 1 year. Next year, terrible. So
I
I'm
mean,
just saying.
I was wrong about Jalen Ramsey's age. He's actually only 30. I don't know how I didn't know that, but he's literally only 2 years older than Jair
30
Alexander.
is old for a corner. You never know what you're going to get with a 30-year-old
I mean, yeah, it is,
corner,
but that
man.
James Bradbury situation doesn't make sense because he was signed to a 1-year deal, and then they willingly gave him a
No,
contract.
I'm not talking about how they re-sign. I'm just saying, I'm just using what happened to James Bradbury, how he had a great year and then he was horrible the next year, just as like a hypothetical on if that could happen to Jalen Ramsey. Forget how things played out
I
with
mean, I could,
Bradbury
I
and his
could, I could
contract.
say that if they went out and traded for Myles Garrett and spent a bunch of first-round picks on him, and then what if he falls off a cliff the next year? And that's not crazy at all
Well, I'm
because
talking about a corner where this is a common theme. But
Jalen
anyway,
Ramsey is.
we do not currently have enough time to stay on this subject for too long. I don't even think we have enough time to stay on football any longer. We still have the Phillies and the Sixers to get to. A lot of stuff going on with the Sixers that I want to talk about. The Phillies, though, they finally won a series again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in this team at all. I think the Phillies suck. I think they're horrible. I'm just like, I got to the point. It's just, just every week they lose. There's a game every week where they lose 13-2, or it's pathetic.
Well, you know what they had been doing during their losing streak that just really just had me emotionally exhausted is they would start off the game with an early lead, like an early 1 or 2 run lead. Midway through the game, the opposing team would tie it. And then the Phillies just don't put up any runs since like the second inning when they jumped out to the early lead. And then the other team eventually walks it off in the 9th or the 10th inning. That happened at least like 3, maybe even 4 times while they were losing all these games. It just became very frustrating after a while. And then even when they finally broke the losing streak, game 1 against the Cubs, the offense looked horrible yet again, but they found a way to win. The only thing that gives me confidence is how well they played in the final game of that series yesterday. I mean, they played very well.
I mean, yeah, they played well. Alec Boehm has been balling. I mean, I talked about how he hit those home runs. It was from May 14th to the 24th. Had like 3 home runs, and now he just keeps hitting them. Hit another one yesterday. But there's other guys. I mean, I want to hear Are you going to continue to defend Johan Rojas? Let's start there.
I'll defend his defense. His defense is still looking great and better than Marsh's. But I do want to further touch on Bohm since you're talking about Bohm, because one thing I would like to talk about is how in that game when the bases were loaded and he ground into a double play, everybody was like, "Oh, Bohm's the worst. He ground into a double play. He's the reason the Phillies blah 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 blah." Like everyone grounded out during that game. It was a game full of the entire 9 hitters grounding out, and then Bohm is like the last guy to ground out, and he gets all the blame. I think that was so stupid. I'm not even somebody who like really defends Bohm, but I think in a game where every hitter is just really bad, like I think it's stupid to just point the finger at the guy who was basically up to bat last. I think that's so dumb. And ever since then, he's just been hitting the ball really well. I think he has like 3 straight multi-hit games, and he finally cranked another home run recently. I think that was, what was that, yesterday's game? Yeah, he's had two hits in 3 straight games. His batting average is up to 283. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't typically defend Bohm. But
I looked
after
it up,
that,
and he actually has. I looked up a couple players comparison stats. It was like 65 game slate of what has happened already this year compared to where they were at 65 games or however many games, depending on if they missed whatever. Because Castellanos plays every game. Schwarber has missed like 3 total games, and Bohm has missed a couple games himself. But Bohm has the same amount of home runs, 6 that he had like after 60 something games last year, which was 6, but the RBIs was like 51 at this point last year to like 28 right now. But he's obviously turning around. The batting average is only 7 off. I think the doubles is outrageous. Like Alec Bohm this time last year had like 23 doubles, and he has like 9 right now. But he's playing better. Kyle Schwarber is actually more productive up until this point this season than he was up until this point last season. But recently, I mean, we thought Kyle Schwarber was turning the corner. Obviously, he's a great power
I
hitter.
thought he was gonna.
He's not a good hitter.
I thought
I mean,
he's
people
hitting
trying to
this
say he's
well
the
right
best hitter
now.
on the
Imagine
Eagles,
what he's gonna do in June.
or people trying to say he's the best hitter on the Phillies. That was like a narrative that was floating around for 2 to 3 weeks, and that's just so unbelievably incorrect. I mean,
Listen,
outside of literally
he's
smashing the
still a
ball,
great hitter, but yeah, no, he's not. He's not.
Castellanos is a better hitter than him.
Huh?
Guaranteed. Trey Turner and Castellanos are better hitters than Kyle
I
Schwarber.
would. I would definitely. I would say Trey Turner. Castellanos.
Castellanos gets unbelievable.
Listen, Castellanos is
We're gonna
quietly
look back at
having a
Castellanos as
terrific
Bobby
season.
Abreu, as the Bobby Abreu of this era. That's what we'll look back. Maybe a little toned down from that because Bobby Abreu is like one of the most borderline
Bobby
Hall of
Abreu
Fame
put
baseball
up
players ever.
ridiculous numbers, man.
Yeah, but every time I go to reference where the Phillies lie at, like singularly between player stats, and I look at the batting average, and I do it like every 2 weeks, like Nick Castellanos outside of Trey Turner is always the second guy. I mean, Castellanos is 25th in the league in batting average right now.
He's got to be up there in total hits because he doesn't.
Castellanos
Miss a game.
Castellanos right now has the same batting average as Bobby Witt Jr. and 3 ticks off of Shohei.
That's it, and that's the thing, man. It's like guys like Turner, Castellanos, Bohm, 3 guys who are batting at least 283 or above. Considering the floor is Alec Bohm at 283. They're all batting at least 283 or above, and this fan base acts like they stink. This fan base.
Well, that's
acts
why.
like
That's
they're
why I
terrible.
wanted to. That's why I had a little bit of venom with Kyle Schwarber. It's because I'm just tired of like he can't do anything wrong in anybody's eyes, Kyle Schwarber. Because that's the territory we're in. Like he got to the point where like he like almost like jumped Bryce Harper on the pedestal, where people are quicker to critique Bryce Harper than they are Kyle Schwarber just because he hits home runs. But outside of the home runs, like. I mean, he had the 3-walk game the other day. I was just looking at his stats. He's obviously not, performing like June Kyle Schwarber and up to par. But outside of that 3-walk game, the only hits that he had in the past like week were literally games that he hit home runs in.
Like, yeah, it's been
ridiculous.
Kyle Schwarber was playing a lot better than he typically does throughout the year. Right now, we're seeing the more typical Kyle Schwarber, where every at bat is either a walk, a home run, or a strikeout, and that's a lot more so what
I'm not trying to say like this, like he doesn't add value to the team. I mean, he's still got a 2.1 WAR. The next time somebody makes fun of Trey Turner, why don't we bring up his 2.2 WAR that leads the entire Phillies team?
Yeah, but that's the thing, is he leads the team in WAR, and this fan base they act like he's terrible. I don't get it. He hits at a high average. His defense hasn't been good, but he
and that's also factored in. That's factored into the equation of WAR too. Is defense. So if his defense was
and not only that, but I will also add this. When you look at, like right now, I'm looking at Kyle Schwarber's WAR, right? When his current WAR is what, 2.1? You look at his offensive WAR, it's plus 2.3. You look at his defensive WAR, it's minus 0.8. So if you don't know much about how these numbers are calculated, you would think, well, offensive WAR is 2.3, defensive WAR is minus 0.8. So shouldn't he be at 1.5? Right? But when WAR is calculated, offensive WAR plays much heavier into it than defensive WAR. It's not exactly 1-for-1. Offensive WAR plays much more into it because in the game of baseball, if you're a position player, your offense is a lot more important than your defense. It makes a bigger impact on the game. You can be a great defensive player, but if you're not providing any offense, you basically don't even belong out there on the field. So offense is a lot more important.
Let's give the full calculation. Let's run down the list real quickly. For position players: 1, batting runs; 2, base running runs; 3, fielding runs; 4, positional adjustment runs; 5, league adjustment; 6, replacement level runs; and 7, runs per win. That's the equation for position players for WAR. Those are the factors of what they factor in. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy that obviously has
factoring in defense.
subpar defense, but is a top 10 base runner, and that's probably generous, probably closer to top 5 when he's on his game, and I would say a top 20 hitter in the entire league. But somehow he fumbles a ground ball at shortstop, and it's all his fault. And people are just coming around on the Bryson Stott thing, but Bryson Stott's been doing the same thing. I praised him a couple of weeks ago, and then he just dipped right back down, out of nowhere, like a Tiny Wings game. It felt like you were playing Tiny Wings. He's up here for a little bit, and then bang, right back down to 239, to the point where now people are noticing that Bryson Stott was getting platooned. Before he was batting 280, everyone's like, "Oh, Bryson Stott's batting leadoff. He's doing so well." I'm like, "Yeah, he was playing well, but he's also still platooning, and he's getting limited amount of bats that favor him." And now that you see that that's not happening, I just feel like a simple solution as of right now. I know the Turner to the outfield is a drastic thing, but I think it would just be as simple as just put Bryson Stott defensively at shortstop and move Trey Turner to second base. That's what I would do.
This is something we talked about before. I agree. Not to backtrack, because this is something else I wanted to bring up, and then we can move on to another topic. But looking at Kyle Schwarber's numbers this year compared to previous years in a Phillies uniform, which have been terrific seasons, and just to clarify, by the way, I'm trying to give these other guys the credit they deserve, while also giving Schwarber his credit, because he still deserves a lot of it. But this year he's got a .921 OPS. His second best in a Phillies uniform was last year at .851. Right? His batting average is similar as last year. His on-base percentage is at .377. His second highest was last year at .366. Right? You look at his percentages. His home run percentage is at 7.0, highest it's been in a Phillies uniform. Second highest, very close, 6.9 in 2022. And this is after he's tailed off a bit for the past couple of weeks. His strikeout percentage is the lowest it's ever been in a Phillies uniform at 26%. His second lowest last year, 28.5%. After that, 29.9, both 2022 and 2023. His walk percentage is the second highest it's ever been at 16%. His highest.
I wanted to harp on the strikeouts and stop there, because that's what I'm looking at right now, and I just compared the numbers from April to June. So the narrative of June Schwarber is not playing out as
it's not playing out this year. No, we for the past 2 months we were witnessing June Schwarber, and
that's what I was going to say. But let me make this stat comparison. So he has 38 at bats in June. He struck out 18 times in 38 at bats in June. He struck out 24 times in all of April and 89 at bats. And I just looked at the stats. He had a stretch in the beginning of June where the Toronto series, I mean, that Toronto series, oh my goodness. He struck out 3 times in the win versus Toronto, 2 times when they lost the next day, and then the last game that they lost the series on twice. So he struck out 7 times versus the Toronto Blue Jays.
And you know what? And the fact that he still has the lowest strikeout percentage in his career as a Philly, even after all
Well, I
that, just
mean,
shows
it's
how
that's
good
why
he
I
was
wanted to
before
that's
June.
why I wanted to stop you because you're saying that of his career when he was the top 3 strikeout guy in baseball since he's been in a Phillies uniform every year. It's like him and Ellie De La Cruz. And I was
No,
actually just looking at
I'm saying as of right now, this has been his best season as a
yeah,
Philly,
because all the
and
other years
he's had his best years in Philadelphia. I mean, it's honestly not even close. He
well, I
had
feel like he's
1 year.
also getting a lot more volume, and it's different because he was playing on I mean, he played on the Red Sox for what, half a season. He was playing on non-DH teams, you know what I mean, and not in that role. So
Well,
he's
even when
getting a
he
lot more
wasn't a
opportunities now.
DH in 2022, he led the National League with 46 homers, which was by far a career high for him. He never cracked 100 ribbies before he came to the Phillies, which he had done in back-to-back years. Only had 1 All-Star appearance, never was in the top 20 in MVP voting, never had a Silver Slugger. He's accomplished so much in a Phillies uniform. These have easily been the best seasons of his career. Although, what I will say is his best performance was the 41 games he spent as a Red Sox when he batted 291 with a 435 on base percentage, hitting 7 home runs in those 41 games. But
I feel like strikeouts is hard to like gauge though, because like I mean, for Schwarber, they're bad for Schwarber because he doesn't do anything else. But like Shohei uses all parts of the field, steals bases, hits triples, hits doubles, hits singles, walks, does everything, and he has 1 less strikeout on the year than Kyle Schwarber does. And Cal Raleigh, who's been like the hottest player in all of baseball, the Seattle Mariners catcher who leads the league in home runs, has 2 less strikeouts. And then our boy that had the gigantic war that we could potentially be seeing in a Phillies uniform soon, Jarren Duran, has 76 strikeouts to Schwarber's 78. So another outfielder who, you know, who just sucks now? You know, who's just bad at baseball? Luis Robert Jr. He just sucks. Have you seen his numbers since the rumors of him becoming a Philly? Like after he went crazy in 2023, last year and this year, he's literally one of the worst players in all of baseball. He's, you know what his batting average is? It's literally 185.
you know what's funny about that is when I think of players who suddenly fell off, I think of 2 guys. I think of Tim Anderson and I think of Javi Baez. But
Well,
what's
Tim
funny is
Anderson fell off.
Javi Baez is having a bounce back season for the ages right
Yeah,
now.
he's playing center field for them now. That's like another
He
guy that has switched positions. He's like the poster boy of Trey Turner, as in like signed a massive shortstop contract, just was ass, and they told him to move. His was way worse though. Like, I mean, Trey has never even been in the ballpark again.
he became probably the worst hitter in baseball, especially last year. He only hit 184. But he like when you talk about a guy who strikes out, you think of Javi Baez. Like I literally saw just earlier today, I saw a video of Tiffany Stratton of the WWE throwing out the first pitch at the Mets game, and it was horrible. It like sailed over the catcher's head. And somebody said like Javi Baez swing and a miss or something, which like obviously he's playing a lot better this year, but like that's just
No, he was Javi Baez.
where he's
He was
what
the
he's like famous for
he was
now.
known for swinging at the breaking pitches that like were bouncing to home plate. There's like
Yeah.
multiple videos of him doing that. But yeah, it's yeah, strikeouts are weird. I mean, like for Schwarber, they look bad, but there's other guys that like hit the ball all over the place. And I mean, look at the talent at the top of some of these strikeout leaders. I mean, Austin Riley is 3rd in the entire league in strikeouts, and Austin Riley is one of the best prototypical players in the MLB. So, but yeah, I just feel like Kyle Schwarber can't do any wrong in people's eyes just because he hits home runs, and there's a lack of that on the team. But like Castellanos always gets dogged, Trey Turner always gets dogged, Alec
Yeah, and
Bohm
it's
in his own
ridiculous.
right gets dogged, but I mean, there's other guys that are not performing on the team, and Kyle Schwarber is obviously one of the most important players on the team. I've been advocating for him to get another contract extension, but when you see the limitations to his game, when a guy like Bryce is out of the lineup and when Kyle Schwarber's not performing, you're like, oh, why is Kyle not performing? Like, this is the guy who he is. He's either hitting a home run, striking out, or walking. So that's just the guy that he is, and that's just is what it is. But, I mean, we'll take fourth in the league in home runs. Other baseball topics, like I know we're talking about the Phillies specifically, but I feel like the Braves are in an extremely, extremely bad spot. The Braves, I saw a stat, and it's obviously changed over the past couple of days, but I think I saw the stat on like Saturday or Sunday. The Braves were 3-12 since Ronald Acuna had come back from injury. Had literally
Yeah,
won
they've been
4.
doing really bad. It seems like they've been there's been a lot of blown leads from the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, they blew that
They're in a
crazy lead.
tailspin right now.
They're oh my God, you want to hear a crazy stat I just saw? I'm looking at the standings from the NL East. The Washington has a 1-game lead or a half-game lead over Atlanta, 14 and a half games back to 15 games back. The point differential for Atlanta is plus 10. For Washington, it's minus 58. And they're still ahead of them in the
Yeah,
standings.
because they keep losing these games by like 1 run after blowing a lead. But what makes
Yeah,
me
put into it now.
depressed to look at in the NL East standings is to see the Phillies now 5.5 games out of first place, which is quite upsetting. However, with their current win total, they still would make the playoffs as a wild card team if the season were to end today.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. The Braves have a 12-24 record on the road, which is bad. That's bad. That shows they can't play.
Well,
So
hold
the only
on.
way they're getting into the playoffs with what's going on right now is they're going to be a wild card team that's going to have to go on the road, and that's just going to be an early exit. It seems like for them, but they're in the point where, like, they're regardless of talent on their team, there's almost not a path for them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
the amount of teams they're
an
going to have to
easy
jump. If you look
statement
at the NL West, you have the Dodgers 41 wins. You got the Giants 40 wins. I think the Giants are unbelievably fraudulent. I think they're one of them. I think they're the most fraudulent team in all of baseball is the San Francisco Giants, but they got 40 wins. Padres 38. Arizona's going to be scratching and clawing to try and make the playoffs. So they got 5 games on the Braves in the win column. They're the ones that actually gave the Braves that horrible, what was it? They were up 9-1 and they lost 10-9 loss last week. Arizona's 34-34, 500 in the West, and they're going to be scratching and clawing to Atlanta. I mean, I really don't see a way that Atlanta's going to be able to make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, they're out.
I don't like it's like it's the Giants as the number 1 wild card seed right now if the season ended, the Phillies, and then the Padres. And Padres have 1 less win than the Phillies, but the same amount of losses. So I think we get the Padres in the beginning of July for series, but right now it'll be the Giants, Phillies, Padres, followed by 2.5 games back is the Cardinals. Milwaukee's behind that, the Reds, the Diamondbacks, Washington, and then Atlanta. Atlanta's the 11th team out of the 15 teams in the conference.
The league.
The league, I guess. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
but
the National League. Yeah, listen, the Braves stink. All right, they stink now, which is so beautiful. I love it. Anyhow,
I feel like for the Braves, like they stink, but Matt Olson's not that. Like Matt Olson's just not Matt Olson anymore. He's just not the same first baseman that he used to be. I think Austin Riley's just having a down year. Michael Harris isn't the greatest, like consistent hitter, but he's an unbelievable defenseman, still a high caliber player. They got screwed on Jurickson Profar, but they've had some good young guys step in. Their catcher position, they got 2 good catchers. Ozzy, is not playing the same way. And Marcell Ozuna, where's Ozuna at stats wise?
Ozuna from the Braves.
Like where?
Don't get in the car with that guy.
Where is? I gotta find that real quickly, and then I want to talk about a couple. Ozuna's got 10 home runs.
Well, let's speed through these final couple baseball topics because I still want to bring up a Sixers topic before we head out of here.
So we also, I don't know how it came to this point. I feel like we do this way too often. We'll get caught talking about like a player we talked about 5 quadrillion times, and then we'll just be like, hey, yeah, Mick Abel, just made it to the first debut for the Phillies. Like we haven't even mentioned Otto Kemp's name one time in this podcast, which is just a disservice and just absolutely criminal. So, I mean, we talk about all these prospects all the time, and then they actually make it to the majors. We give them no love on the podcast. I always try and bring them up, but
listen, shout out to Otto Kemp though, man. And tell you what, I didn't know he was as fast as he is.
Yeah, I feel like there's, you see, like you can't really. For people that try and say, they know all about this prospect that's coming up, like I'm a box score scout when it comes to these guys. Like I see, maybe a clip of him making this play or that play or hitting this ball, that ball, but like I'm not watching Otto Kemp for 50 games every at bat. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what to expect. I hear people on one podcast for NBC Sports Philadelphia, it's like Phillies talking about how he's his defensive position favorably is first base. And then I hear about them on the radio trying to say favorably his defensive position is third base. So, you get people all over the place about that stuff. But for Otto Kemp, I feel like he's done his job well, but they need to find a guy for the bench. I mean, Max Kepler, once I feel like the Max Kepler experiment ends, I don't know if that's going to be I'm not sure what just happened to Dante. Just out of nowhere, popped to the podcast. It actually happened right before we started. But finishing my thought on Max Kepler, I feel like Max Kepler needs to go to the bench. I feel like the Phillies really don't. There he is back again. But I was just saying.
I accidentally closed out the tab that we were streaming. That I was streaming from. So my mistake there.
But yeah,
Max Kepler, he's been hitting slightly better lately. I still don't. I mean,
he's still like I'm okay with him like starting twice a week in left field, but like I'm not back and forth with him and another mid-level player.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think realistically with Brandon Marsh, if he continues to hit better, I think for now at least it should be Rojas in center because of his defense. In center. And by the way, before anybody says, Dante, I thought you were just talking about how defense isn't as important and blah, 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 blah. I stand by that statement, and it might sound like I'm just saying this now to support my current argument. But if you've ever looked at any of my Diamond Dynasty teams over the years, you will see that all 8 hitters are pure offense, and then my center fielder is always pure speed and defense. So I have proof to back up what I'm about to say next, which is offense is always much more important, with center field being a bit of an exception in my opinion. I think in center field, when it comes to center field, you need a speedster out there who has a lot of range and can cover a lot of ground. I can also back up this statement if you go back and find clips of me on this podcast advocating for Roman Quinn back in the day. Because I think defense in center field is extremely important and it can make a huge difference. I mean, look at Aaron Rowan when he saved that game. Look at Mick Abel would have pitched 2 straight 6-inning shutout performances if Johan Rojas was in center field for that fly ball. Anyhow,
I gotta stop you there. I mean, you're making it out to be like his defense is like outweighs how unbelievably bad he is on offense. He sucks. He's so bad on offense.
No. Hold on, because that's not what I'm saying. They don't have any good bats in the outfield right now outside of Castellanos.
Okay,
so instead of having Kepler in left, you might as well keep Rojas in center and put Marsh over the left. I think that would work a lot better than having either Marsh or Rojas in center and Kepler in left. That's how bad Kepler is.
Well, I think that it's just as clear as day. They have a massive issue with two of their outfielders that needs to be solved. If you don't believe Crawford is the solution at the current moment,
Well, they need
so
to call
be
up
it.
Crawford, but I'm talking about what they're currently working with on the MLB roster. I think that's how they should be
It's been the
doing
same.
it until they either bring somebody else in via trade or call up Justin Crawford.
And I've also heard people say that they think Justin Crawford's best position is actually left field instead of center field.
Out of here.
That's what I heard for some people. So I mean, they need to figure out the outfield. I mean, it just is what it is. They will not win and go anywhere in the playoffs if they trot out what they're trotting out in the outfield right now. So if they want to go through the same experiment of Johan Rojas. I mean, he's batting like 239 right now. He's so bad at the plate. And I think he has one total home run. I mean, you're getting literally nothing from that 7 through 9 hole, especially when he's sandwiched in there. Max Kepler is the same way, hits a home run maybe I think Max Kepler hadn't hit a home run in like 30 games or something.
And that was supposed to be the big appeal of Kepler is he's a good power bat. No,
well, I love Max Kepler as a bench bat, like literally like Matt Stairs in the playoffs. Give me a 7th inning, at bat for him. Like I love that situation. Like him coming up 4 times in a game. No, I hate that. You know what I mean? So he's just not like he gets extra. Like how many like singles has Max Kepler hit this year?
I don't know. But
has he I feel like every hit that he's gotten has been an extra base hit. Let's see real quickly. He has 42 hits, 42 total hits, and 20 are either a home run or a double. So pretty much half of his hits are extra base hits. So I guess, in a big spot, that's cool. But they have a big time issue with those two players. And now they have an issue at second base offensively as well. The infield, I'm not too worried about offensively because you still have 300 hitters just all lurking around in the infield, so I'm not worried about it. I guess if you want to throw JT into that mix as well, I just feel like our season this year is going to end if the way that it's trending now is like we'll be in a big moment. We'll, get our hopes up and everything, and then JT will ground out in the 8th inning with the bases loaded.
Or
and that will end our season.
Or they will bring in Jake Cave to pinch hit, and he will hit a shallow fly ball to end the season.
Well, that's why I'm saying that they need to figure out, like, move Max Kepler to the bench. Like, Weston Wilson.
Terrible.
If he didn't have if he did not hit for the cycle, I'm telling you, he would not have ever been on this roster.
I don't think that's actually played a factor.
He's holding on to a moment. What's the justification for keeping? What's the
justification for starting Max Kepler? I don't know. But anyway, bottom line, got to move on to the Sixers topic because then I got to head out of here. I need an early start to my day tomorrow. What the hell is going on, man? What the hell is going on? For a few weeks, ever since the lottery, it was like Sixers are drafting 3rd. Ace Bailey is the projected 3rd overall pick. It was like, great, perfect fit for the Sixers. It's going to work out so well. I'm excited. Now I'm seeing talks of them drafting this VJ Edjagadupa. I don't know what the hell his name is. Another guard. Another guard. And then I hear rumors of them trading up to the 2nd overall pick. I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe that's to assure they get Ace Bailey, which I'm okay with. And then I tune into the radio. I tried to listen to the radio today. I tuned in for 10 seconds, and all I heard was, they're going to trade up to the 2nd overall pick to take Dylan Harper. And I'm like, why the hell would you do that? And then I heard somebody say, well, and if they do that, Maxi's probably in that trade. What? Why are we talking about trading Maxi to move up from the 3rd pick to the 2nd pick? Trading Maxi doesn't even make sense at all. But now we're talking about trading Maxi to get Dylan Harper. Are we out of our freaking minds?
There's literally no way that's true. There's
But
someone they
that's what
probably
I'm saying.
ran
There's
with.
no way
I
that
mean,
happens. But why are we even entertaining that idea on the radio? That makes no sense. What happened? I feel like in the flash of a pan, it went from Ace Bailey to the Sixers during the draft. Great, to just all this craziness. All of a sudden, it's like, what are we doing?
I'm not really honestly. If there's one sport I'm not a huge fan of the local media's coverage of, like around here, is basketball. Like I
Oh
think
yeah, no, it's definitely the
I
worst
think it's
when
the
it comes to
worst
the
sport. I
Sixers.
think
Yeah.
Philadelphia, of all the sports, Philadelphia sports fans, of all the sports we all follow, I think the basketball opinions are by far the worst of everybody.
Yeah,
Like,
I can
everyone's
agree with
basketball
that.
opinions are so jaded and make absolutely no sense, and everyone's ideas are always just so off and outlandish. VJ Edgecombe, though, the reason why I'm not mad about that is if that ends up was happening, like VJ Edgecombe is a top 4 player from that high school draft class with Dylan Harper, Cooper Flagg, and Ace Bailey. So it's not like this random guy comes out of the woodworks. Like,
I don't care. I don't want another guard. I don't want yet another guard. So I just don't even
I mean,
care.
you got to take the best player of what you
We're
believe in.
so guarded, and I think that is Ace Bailey. I truly think that I think not only is he the best fit, I think at pick 3 he'll be the best player available.
Well,
I think
I hate when you say I don't want another guard when you're comparing 2 6'1" guys to a guy that's nearly 6'6".
they have him listed at 6'10". I don't know why we're talking about
Who are you talking about? What are you
Ace
talking about?
Bailey.
I'm talking about VJ Edgecombe. You don't want
Yeah,
another
he's
guard.
6'5". That he's still a guard. It's not like 6'5" is some considerable size. It's not like, oh, let's put him at the wing and then that solves our size issue. No. Yeah, if he was like a
I mean,
6'8" guard, I would be like, okay, yeah, maybe we can put him at the wing and he'll add some much needed size there. If he was like a
what,
6'8" guard
I
that
don't
could
really.
rebound, I wouldn't be
The
upset
size
about
is
it.
cool. I'm worried about the player more. So I mean, the Pacers are trying out Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nemhard right now at the same exact size as VJ Edgecombe, and look at the impact.
Right now, outside of Joel Embiid, we have nobody that can rebound. And you might say Andre Drummond, but I'm talking about guys that are going to be on the court along with Embiid. You can't just have one guy out there who can rebound and no one else can rebound.
Obviously, hopefully they retain him. He can rebound a little bit.
I could love it. Listen. Either way, this team has such an issue there with
So
being guard heavy
what does that
and
mean when you
lacking
say?
size. And I said last season when they lost to the Knicks, a huge reason they lost that series is because they just got flat out rebounded the entire series. They've done nothing to address it since. It's still an issue. And if we continue to just go after guard after guard after guard after guard after guard, it's going to continue to be an issue. And I am sick of it. I am sick of it. That would be 2 off seasons in a row where they don't address a glaring issue on this team. So I don't want to hear about trading up and drafting Dylan Harper or trading VJ Edgecombe instead of Ace Bailey. If Ace Bailey wasn't worth being wasn't good enough to be the 3rd overall pick and he was projected 5th or 6th and we took him just because he was the next available wing and everyone else was guards, I would understand the argument. Take the best player available. But when Ace Bailey has consensusly been the number 3 pick this whole time, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere for no reason, it's no, let's take this guard or that guard. It's
That's where I just said
why.
That's where I just said you're wrong. That's just a wrong statement. You're saying out of nowhere. This is the dude that's ranked the next ranked player in the high school class next to him. Just because he went to Baylor doesn't mean. I mean,
but where was this talk the past few weeks? That's what I mean when it's out of nowhere. For 3 weeks, it was
just to be clear here.
Ace Bailey to the Sixers. Now it's suddenly let's take this guard. I don't know.
Just to be clear, I want Ace Bailey the most out of any player that I want the Sixers to draft, but a guy like VJ Edgecombe, I don't think is a bad pick. Although I want them to draft Ace Bailey. You're talking about rebounding. I mean, we're talking about a guy that had almost averaged 6 rebounds at 6'5" in college. So, I mean, he was averaging 2 offensive rebounds a game in college as a guard. That's actually absurd. I don't know another guard I can name off the top of my head but I'm not worried about the positions. Like, basketball is positionless basketball. If we're going to go add another
No.
6
Look,
foot,
basketball became positionless, but we've seen in more recent times, like the teams that go small, they haven't been as successful as of. Although, granted, the Pacers are beating the
granted,
more
Draymond Green
sizable.
making the Hall of Fame as a 6'7" power forward center that has won 4 championships as the best.
No, I'm saying no.
Teams.
What I just said was basketball had become positionless, and I'm referring to the era of dominance from the Golden State Warriors and around that time when PJ Tucker was the center for the Houston Rockets. But I think over the past couple years, we've been seeing sort of a resurgence of size. We've been seeing that teams with more size have typically been more successful over the past couple of years. I mean, look what Gobert and Anthony Towns were able to accomplish alongside of Ant Edwards last season. You look at Nikola Jokic bringing home a title for the Denver Nuggets. I think that era of basketball of small positionless players is starting to phase out a bit.
I mean, you also say that though as if like they don't have Joel Embiid. Like Joel Embiid will be on the court with.
But Jokic had Aaron Gordon next to him, and
Michael Porter Jr.,
who's the next tallest? Who's the next biggest guy next to Embiid? Paul George.
I mean, Paul
George
who played
like guard
6'8", so he's pretty
for
tall.
A majority of his career. Yeah, he's 6'8", but he doesn't play like he's.
I mean, 6'8". The Sixers had all the opportunities to go get Pascal Siakam with his former coach as our head coach, and they didn't want to do it. And the Pacers have just benefited ever since making that trade. Also, you say that how you don't want a VJ Edgecombe. He's the same size as Tyrese Halliburton, who's dominating the entire NBA right now. So,
he's dominating as a guard. Like I'm not saying I wouldn't want Tyrese Halliburton, but I want some goddamn size on this team already. I feel like it's been like 3 years of this, and they just continue to ignore it, and it's costed them in the playoffs. It would be
but I also feel like
it would be one thing if the lack of size hasn't been an issue for the Sixers, but they got out rebounded like crazy in that series against the Knicks, and they have not addressed it since.
But the thing that I just don't understand is you're complaining about that, but you're like making it out to be like Ace Bailey like is considered a 2 more than he is a 4. You realize that, right?
But he's either way. They're not going to play him at the 2. Obviously, he's going to be a 3 or maybe even a 4. The guy is 6'10". He's 6'10".
He's not 6'10". He's actually the same height as Paul George, and Paul George has said that. Ace Bailey has also said that, and then you just complain about.
Either way, it's still better. Either way, I would still much rather take Ace Bailey at pick 3 than trade up and take Dylan Harper at 2. This is
I think that's stupid. I think you're just wasting resources. I can tell you one thing: whoever on the
wasting resources, trading up is wasting resources.
That's what I just said.
Well, you started that by acting like you were disagreeing with me.
I said wasting resources as in why would you move up one spot? And then, I mean, I was just about to say, like, there's literally I don't know where you're hearing that from about them moving up one spot and giving up Tyrese Maxey. That doesn't even make sense.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that's what I briefly heard on the radio and shut off. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm just talking about the idea of trading up to the number 2 pick. Obviously, they're not going to trade Maxey to move up to the number 2 pick. I'm just talking about the idea of that in general.
Who would you I know how you feel about Maxey. I mean, I would trade Maxey, but it would have to be for like a specific player. Jared McCain, as much as I like Jared McCain as a player, I would be a lot more open to moving him if there was like a crazy like situation that I can make happen out there. Who would be like a player like you would trade Jared McCain for, and maybe like a draft pick? Like if Jared McCain in the 3rd pick, you were trying to package those 2 things together to get superstar type player to get you over the top, who would you consider doing it? Who would be like the stylistic type player that you would do?
It's a tough question, actually.
I mean, we know a couple guys are out there right now, but
Off the top of my head, I'm not too sure. I do love the trade idea for Michael Porter Jr. That would be overpaying for Michael Porter Jr., but
yeah, I love that. Yeah, that was the one that I pitched. There was another one that was floating around online too. It was like the Horn, or it was with the Pelicans getting Herb Jones and the 7th pick for the 3rd pick. Like people are acting like this 3rd pick like comes around every single season, and the Sixers just have it in their back pocket to always have. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just trading like, and the Cam Johnson, move back for those 2 Nets picks that they got from the Knicks and the Bridges trade, and then pick up Cam Johnson as well, and they get pick 3. Like I'm not doing any of those bullshit ass trades. I'm not doing any of them. I've
yeah,
also heard that like VJ Edgecombe and Ace Bailey are like the top like tier potential type prospects that they could be targeting. But there's been a lot of steam for Con Knipple as like if they're going to draft like the highest level role player that they could, a guy that just comes in and just can, just do something for you. You know what I mean? Not going to be the focal point of your team, but just play his role and do what he needs to do. Con Knipple fits that mold for everybody. He's the best catch and shoot player in the draft as well, has the highest shooting percentage. Even Ace Bailey's right around there as well. But to summarize all this, the Sixers, I mean, looking at the roster from last year, we already narrowed it down. I want them to keep Justin Edwards. I think Kyle Lowry's done at this point. I saw rumors about him retiring. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think there's a good chance that he might retire. But I'm done with the Kyle Lowry. Not like anything went wrong or anything, but it's just time to move past that. They don't even need that backup depth at point guard anymore. But of the guys last year, Bona, Justin Edwards, McCain, you got to figure out something with Oubre and why am I drawing up Quentin Grimes? Those guys, but those are guys, and then obviously Drummond as well. Like the guys that we saw on the court last year for the Sixers can play a role for them, and then it's just build off of the pieces of Jared McCain, Joel, and Tyrese. I hope they try and trade Paul, but I just haven't seen any steam that they will do that. But I'd be okay having Ace Bailey and Paul George on the same roster. And I think that actually might benefit both players if that were the case. I don't think
yeah.
that.
I think a starting 5 of Maxey, McCain, George, Ace Bailey, Joel Embiid. That's a starting 5.
I don't think they
can
would
be happy with.
ever. I don't think that they would ever roll out a lineup like that. I don't even think that makes sense to roll out a lineup. That's like you can't just take your 5 best players and put them out on the court together. Like I want McCain running my second unit and playing.
Listen,
30
I don't hate that either. You know, you could do Maxi, Grimes, PG, Bailey, and
I wouldn't even
Embiid.
start
I mean,
Grimes.
you could
I
have
honestly,
Grimes or McCain run the second unit. I think either one of them has the offensive output to be able to do that.
well, Grimes isn't a.
Anyway, though, I am out of time for tonight, but that is my closing statement on the matter.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Grimes isn't a ball handler, so that wouldn't work out running the unit. He could be your scorer. I would put Justin Edwards in the starting lineup and run it that way. Have Grimes, McCain come off the bench, Bona or Yabusele coming off the bench for a big man role with Drummond that can be interchangeable 4 or 5. And I think the Sixers would be in a good spot. But to end the podcast, just real quickly an update because I sent this to you, and I don't know if this is what sparked negativity for you, but I was looking at the NBA draft, and it's stayed the same since I screenshot and sent it to you. The NBA draft odds, which have changed in the past couple days. So, number 1 overall pick, obviously Cooper Flag's minus 100,000. But we have some movement at 2 through 5. So, pick number 2. Harper is still the favorite minus 400 or minus 4,000. Ace Bailey is now plus 2,000 and VJ Edgecombe is plus 2,500. Next guy is the other Duke big man, Milwaukee, who's plus 12,000. But pick 3, VJ Edgecombe minus 125. Ace Bailey plus 230 when Ace was plus 105 and VJ was like plus 120 a couple weeks ago. So that has changed drastically. Trey Johnson plus 460. I wouldn't be mad about Trey Johnson. Anybody else besides VJ, Ace, or Trey Johnson at pick 3, I'd be very upset about. I wouldn't be mad about having Con Knipple as a Sixer, but if they draft him at 3, I'd be upset about that. But the weird thing is, which I texted you yesterday, VJ is the favorite for the 3rd pick, and he's also the favorite for the 4th pick as well. But he's plus 180 to be the 4th pick, and Ace Bailey's plus 220. So that just kind of shows you where, and Trey Johnson's plus 170 to be the 5th pick. So that just kind of shows you what people are thinking. And Con Knipples actually has higher odds than Trey Johnson for the 4th pick, but for the 3rd pick, Trey Johnson significantly has higher odds than Con Knipples. So that just kind of shows what teams think about their guy. But yeah, that's where we stand. VJ Edgecombe could be the pick or Ace Bailey, but I think it will come down to those 2 guys. Trey Johnson in the realm of possibilities as well, but I think it will come down to Ace Bailey. And one thing I will say, and VJ, but the one thing I will say is go out and get that plus 230 at the 3rd overall pick for Ace Bailey right now while you can, because I was going to bet it at plus 105. Now I'm getting almost 2.5 times money on it. I'm going to put some money on that. But thank you guys for tuning in to episode 101 of the Paisan Sports Podcast. We'll be back next week. So we're 13 days off the NBA draft, which is Wednesday, June 25th. So we'll obviously be having a lot of Sixers news probably trickling out since then. Maybe the Phillies get Bryce Harper back or make a move or do something to spark their team and get a catalyst. And Eagles-wise, this is pretty much outside of them having money in their pocket and their wallet to spend. This is probably the most dead part of the year for the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, not really a ton of news. The only news being Jalen Hurts' numbers in OTAs, which Elliott Short-Parks continues to report on, which honestly, as many bad things I can say about Elliott Short-Parks, shout out to him for giving us Jalen Hurts' passing numbers in OTAs, mini camps, etc. every year. So shout out him for that. But
it's not even like, if you really think about it, I'm not even trying to discredit him because I actually am a fan of Elliott Short-Parks, but I feel like it's like to keep track of like the throws that the most important player on the field are making, like at practice, is really not that hard. Like it is extra effort to do, but it's real. I mean, you're just like
I think it can give you a good benchmark on.
No, I'm just saying the actual effort. Like people think it's like, oh man, like he's tracking everything. Like bro, he's literally the quarterback. Every time he throws, it's really not that hard to pay attention, you know. But
no. What I'm saying, no, I'm not like crediting him for being able to keep track of all of it. I'm just saying I'm crediting him for presenting us with that information, because that's not something that like most NFL teams don't have one of their reporters sharing that information to the public. So I'm just saying, like, shout out to him for presenting us with that info.
For sure. I was actually next to him in the press box for the Carson Wentz charity softball game a couple years back, so that was pretty cool. So I'm in person. So, but yeah, that's when I found out John Clark was like 6'8".
Yeah,
that was crazy. But thank you guys for tuning in to the Paisan Sports Podcast, episode 101, and we'll be back next week.